Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the ongoing series which pits my intellect against madness. Or is it the other way around? Day by day, I learn a little more. As I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon. On the moon! With Dog Cat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. And before the stream began, firstly, thank you, the gayest person on YouTube. 1 ticket to join the Stribe, please. Thank you so much. And an exceedingly special thank you to Jaeger Pony. That is exceedingly is my word today, generous of you. I don't know what to say other than thank you so much. That is, I am humbled. Maybe not as humbled as Humble Clay, but humbled all the same. And Jaeger Pony says, since I gave it to P-Dog, well, now that's a loaded statement, isn't it? Since I gave it to P-Dog, I guess the whole class gets it today. Well, okay. Thank you so much, Jaeger Pony. I mean, that's, like I say, that's ridiculously generous of you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, well, I can only hope that whatever happens today meets and exceeds your generosity. I can't promise nothing, though, because it's TEDx. But anyway, yeah. So hello, everyone. It's Monday, if you can believe it. I can barely believe it. Our days are running together so much, and I had to work yesterday, too, so it doesn't really seem like the weekend was ever there. But hey, such is life in my Corona bunker on the moon. But before we get into today's episode, a hello to those of you who have decided to join me. And of course, Jaeger Pony, hello. Raziel, hello. Attack Alpaca, hello. Functional, hello. Cultist 4, hello. Jormungandr, hello. Screwed that up, didn't I? Loki Lycan, hello. Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov, hello. Zach Osborne, hello. Gear PG, hello. Samundung Nation, hello. Again, the gayest person on YouTube, hello. Humble Clay, hello. BG, hello. Keeverdam, hello. John Miller, hello. That one servant of Satania, hello. Shio Gorath, hello. Roger Reynolds, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Dark Alile, hello. Green Death, hello. Graf Spree, hello. And then the chat jumped. Evil One, hello. Jesse Green, 619, hello. Asian Hippie, hello. Twisted Skipster, hello. Shio Gorath, thank you so much. Who's got a ticket to Stribe, but we don't care? We've got a ticket to try. And thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Who's ready to get drowned in a plethora of stupidity? Well, I am. Blake Hanley. Hello. No One Nowhere. Hello. The Luke Skywalker 2. Hello. Ms. Slim 1. Hello. Yaseo. Hello. Whew. Okay, guys. Well, if you didn't know it, you know what I like the most? You know what arguments I love the most? Those wherein someone tries to convince me of something that is patently common sense. I love those because I feel like, this isn't for me. This is for someone who doesn't think or doesn't live in the modern world or something. This is to educate others who are actively ignorant of something. But then I realized that they're not speaking to those who are inherently somehow living under a rock. At least that's my suspicion. Because the title of today's official episode is White Nationalism is Your Problem Too. And that construction of sentence makes me ask a whole bunch of questions like, well, my problem too. Who is the your she's talking about? Who is she trying to convince that racial supremacy as a concept, regardless of the race involved, mind you, is a bad thing for society at large? I don't know. Who do you think she's talking to? I guess we'll find out together. Let's see. And before I begin, let's see. Fernanda, hello. I said hello to Gunfox61. Hello. All right. So speaking of which, the whole Stripe thing, I mentioned this on the show the other night. So that whole channel membership deal, I've been looking at that, and I keep looking at it, and I keep thinking to myself, what would I offer in addition? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, if you were to subscribe to my channel as a paid member, and given that I do this stuff sort of haphazardly to a certain extent, I don't know what incentives I could give to subscribe financially to the channel. I'm a little hesitant to do that. Although I have plenty of ideas, like if I could do that without having to require the financial thing. Like if you could just sign up. Can I set levels that don't have any prices on them? Because it'd be just cool if like people showed up and like, yeah, you know, I'm a member of the Stribe, and I give like little levels like lunar colonist and space marshal and you know, employee at the House of Celestial Sins, that kind of stuff. For those of you that know the Scribe Light moon lore more than others. But anyway, just random thoughts. That's all beside the point. So let's get into the show. All right, per usual, I will start a few seconds of this. You guys let me know if you can hear it. Thank you, Cryptic. Virtual lap dance. Yes, at the House of Celestial Sins. Oh, you mean otherwise? All right. Humble Clay says Stribal Warfare. Oh boy. All right. So here we go, guys. Let's begin this with our speaker, Rachel Carol Rivas. And this was recorded on March 14th, 2020. So not that long ago. All right. Here we go.
Let's start with the obvious and some assumptions.
Ooh, the obvious and some assumptions. Well, okay. The obvious and assumptions. Well, you know what happens when you assume, at least as I've been told time and time again from like my father in life. Okay, Pepperjack. Oh, I'm going to need you. Let's see. Sherry D, hello. And Asian Hippie says it's good. Cougar Knife, hello. Jennifer Nutter, hello. Get some late hellos in. Okay, people. Audio is good, says people. All right, let's continue.
I'm white.
What? Oh, wait. Is that an obvious assumption? Wait, is that an assumption that I could be incorrect about? I don't know. She said assumptions. Deck Tran, hello. Nirvanist 69, hello. All right. She's white. Can you believe that, guys? I can't wait to know what the next revelation is. Are you going to tell me that you're female too? Maybe you're American or something?
This audience, like much of Montana, is white.
Oh, we're in Montana. Uh-oh. I have no idea what that means. I don't know any Montanian stereotypes. I just know that it's big sky country, not big guy country. It might be big guy country too. I don't know. Maybe they grow them big in Montana. I don't know.
I grew up Catholic in windy central Montana.
Ah.
I'm middle class, and I graduated from college.
Ooh, she's on a raised platform. Oh man, that makes it even more perilous. You ever watch these things where they have like the carpet on the ground, and they kind of sidestep and kind of wander around that circle, but they occasionally, step off the edge. And this is dangerous. This is dangerous, and those are some very sensible shoes she's got on there. Okay.
My parents didn't. I'm a woman married.
Oh, I knew it. I guessed. I was just guessing. She has to tell us, just so you know, guys. Now, being Catholic, couldn't tell that by looking at you, right? All these other things. But she's white, and she's a woman. Oh, my God.
Married to a man.
Well, let me back up a little bit. I stopped myself right in the middle of a sentence. I apologize.
I'm a woman married to a man.
Aha.
I eat wild game and tofu.
Okay. Thank you, John Miller. It's okay to be white, or so I'm told. I don't know. I guess we'll learn today.
My children play sports and are in 4-H, just like I was.
Ah, okay. Are you living vicariously through them, or just trying to make clones? Well, I guess technically having children is kind of like cloning. Sort of.
I'm in the PTA, for God's sakes.
For God's sakes.
I might as well be every white suburban Becky that has ever called the cops on a brown person for walking down her street.
Oh, but you don't have to worry about that because you live in Montana where everyone's white. Right? Okay.
I'm not perfect.
Are you sure? Well, do tell us of your inherent imperfections. Might one of them be that you're white?
But I'm not that Becky.
Oh, that
I
Becky.
fight white nationalism for a living.
You fight white nationalism for a living? Oh my God, are you Captain America?
And I'm inviting you to join me in solidarity.
Wow. Oh gosh, because all the rest of us are totally neutral on white nationalism or actively support it. So I'm glad you invited me. Boy, I wouldn't have thought to think that otherwise. How much money is there in fighting white nationalism? I guess unless you're working for the Southern Poverty Law Center or something. Thank you, Cryptic. She's not a Becky. She's a Karen. Well, she's a little behind the times. That's okay. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Becky instead of Karen. Well, you and Cryptic are just on the same wavelength there. All right. And Professor Chaos, hello.
Let me tell you how and why.
Okay.
Racism and the rising tide of white nationalism is my problem too.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Because it's your career to fight it. So, of course, it would be your problem. Well, it's both your problem and your vocation, I guess. Which, as long as there's white nationalism, you have a job, I guess. I'm still curious to know how you monetize fighting white nationalism, but okay.
It's not just my problem because my story is more than the obvious. It's not just my problem because my friends and family are Black folks.
Okay. Well, you're the one distinguishing people by skin color. That's relevant, I suppose.
Immigrants.
Wait, are they immigrants like in they came here legally or they came here illegally? Because that distinction doesn't get made as often as you might assume.
Trans folks.
Okay, so your friends and family are Black folks, immigrants, trans folks. Hey, you know what? So are mine. Wow, that's incredible.
Jewish and Muslim.
Oh, well, wow, you just run the gambit. Well, just I guess our gamut. 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 But all right, so you're friends to everyone. You are friend to all things and people and of all races and creeds. You're a perfect person. Oh, wait, you have flaws. Let me guess, you're white?
It's my problem because it's all of our problem.
And you're here to convince us of this. Okay.
And we are all better off in a society without racism and where inclusive democracy reigns.
I tentatively agree. So tell us again why you're distinguishing everything by race and you had to point out that you're white as though that were something that was relevant to your character or something.
You don't have to be a savior or just act in self-interest to fight white nationalism.
Is that an accusation you're making towards white people? Or are you projecting your own insecurities on others? I don't know why I'm asking that question.
It's called solidarity. Let me be clear. I cannot speak to the experience of most marginalized people.
Oh, okay. But is there a but coming?
The voices of Black and brown folks, immigrants and Jewish people should be center to this conversation.
Yeah, all those people are inherently marginalized because of what they are. Okay.
But we do need to support those voices that have been unfairly discredited for too long and pushed to the side.
Like you're doing right now by saying that they're inherently marginalized and that somehow you exist outside of that. And okay, we're not even 2 minutes into this, guys. Holy cats.
My work is to expand a network for human rights,
Oh, okay.
for community and equality and justice. My work home is with the Montana Human Rights Network, which has for 30 years worked to expand human rights through progressive public policy, supporting community organizing, and combating white nationalism.
Okay, so I guess then Montana's free of white nationalism. I guess there is no racial supremacy movements anywhere in the country or something. Or oh, wait, no. I think that might not be true. So tell us again why everyone who isn't like you is needing support from people like you.
The Human Rights Network was founded at a time when white nationalists from Aryan nations and the militia movement were threatening our rural state and region.
Well, I mean, back in the 90s and the 80s. I mean, I read this book way back when. It was at the time of like Oklahoma City and things like that. And it was called The Gathering Storm. And it was this little nonfiction. It might have been overhyping some things, but it told a lot of the history of the Southern Poverty Law Center and their fights against actual, like, the Ku Klux Klan and white identitarians and things like that, and the militia movement. So, yeah, there was a, festering problem, and perhaps still is in some way, of the militia movement back in the 90s especially, and there's plenty of dead people to show for that. So, in that score, she's not wrong. But I don't know what the militia movement has been up to in the last 15 years. So maybe she has a point. I don't know what goes on in Montana.
And folks of all kinds came together to understand, to counter, and to respond to this hate.
Did we not know that white supremacy, white nationalism, racial supremacy was a bad thing until just recently? I mean, within this lady's lifetime? Is that really news to anyone? Is that why the effective membership of the Ku Klux Klan is whittled down to something like between 5,000 and 10,000 people at most, kind of thing? Couldn't even fill up a football stadium? Across the country, I mean. Okay.
In my work, I have learned that a movement can't be built with just one voice, one experience, one identity, or one group.
So please join me so that I can fill out my quota for the month. Oh, wait.
Now, this white lady doesn't need to tell black and brown folks why they should care.
Yet you sound like you feel as though you must, or you're assuming that white people are complicit because they're white or something?
That they have a stake in ending bigotry.
Bigotry, you say? Tell me again the definition of bigotry. Bigotry and racism are not the same thing. Bigotry is about ideas. Racism is about race. Or bigotry is about ideas and opinions, I suppose, to be more accurate.
But I am here to convince you. Montana.
Yes.
Rural America.
Yes.
White liberals and moderates.
Yes.
Church ladies and athletes.
Yes.
4-H kids and hunters and parents.
Yes. Tell me.
White nationalism is your problem too.
Oh my God. Are you serious? Are you telling me that racial supremacists are a bad thing in our society? I can't believe it.
This is your fight, and the movement needs you.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do to help promote the movement. I'm not going to believe in the inherent benefit of skin color. How's that? I don't believe in it. I don't promote it. And I actively laugh at those that do. So that's my contribution. How's that?
Now, everyone needs an entry point into movement. A hard entry is the kind that slaps you in the face.
Slops me in the face? I don't know that I've ever been slopped in the face, given that I'm not a bukkake actress or something.
And this is why a lot of human rights efforts focus on humanizing the other, decreasing stereotypes and raising awareness. It's part of the value of Native American heritage and Black History Month and Pride parades.
You tell me, wait, you're supposed to be getting rid of stereotypes, or are you promoting them? I'm confused now.
When we desegregate our schools, our social settings, and our workplaces, this not only has the effect of greater equity for those that are unfairly subject to discrimination,
who are inherently not white like you, right? They're just effectively and reflexively marginalized because they're not white like you, which aren't stereotypes or nothing.
But it also forces white folks to humanize the other.
Because white folks do not humanize the other. White folks inherently see anyone who is not exactly like them as some kind of monster, some kind of anomaly. And we don't want to promote stereotypes or anything.
And when people that we know and love are hurt by bigotry, that's a kind of slap entry.
Bigotry is not racism. Bigotry is the intolerance of others based on their ideas or opinions. I mean, bigotry and racism can work in concert with one another, certainly, but they are two entirely different concepts. I know. I should not harp on this as much as I do, but I don't know. Maybe it's the English major in me. I just have a thing for like words and their definitions being used and employed correctly for some reason.
Now, for a long time, we thought about white supremacists as the bad guys in white hoods who thought of themselves as superior.
Yes, that would be the overall core notion of white supremacy. In fact, aside from the whole hoods thing, depending on who you're talking about, that is the whole core thing of racial supremacists, regardless of their skin color. So for the longest time, we thought they were the bad guys because of the ideology that they believe in. So now we believe otherwise?
And then we started talking and shifted to talk about white supremacy as the structures that keep white people in power.
Yeah, which would be a misnomer, I think would be a good word for that one.
In that context, white nationalism uses conspiracies about Jews controlling civil rights efforts to justify the creation of an all-white nation through violence.
And which nation are you speaking of that is all white, might I ask? And what violence is being committed to maintain this all-white nation?
Now, the Pacific Northwest has been a targeted region for white nationalists for decades. And some people assume this is because of our very white demographics.
Okay.
Now, while that might be a reality, it's no reason to throw up our hands and say, oh, here, sure, take it.
Oh, what? Okay. Oh, holy cow. Jaeger Pony, thank you so much. Again, I start this fun to send this lady to the sun. Perhaps its blinding rays can bleach her from my memory. Well, I only have dominion over the moon, not the sun, unfortunately. That might be another YouTuber. So, but regardless, thank you so much, Jaeger Pony. That is ridiculously, again, so generous of you. I hope I can meet your generosity with some level of entertainment. But okay, so the Pacific Northwest is Montana part of the Pacific Northwest? I thought Montana was sort of like the central or the mountain states or something. Maybe I don't know. I'm not a geographer. Okay. So white supremacists are up in the Pacific Northwest, although Montana's nowhere near the Pacific, but whatever works, I guess. Okay.
In reality, even in our very white segregated spaces, there is hope.
Oh, is there? How can there be any hope since white supremacy are the structures that maintain white people in power, Barack Obama, and the entire nation is entirely white through violence? Melting pot. Tell me why.
Talking about our differences and race and discrimination actually helps us stop doing it.
Really? You mean, so like understanding the sins of the past, the laws that we have passed in order to address some of these things as best as we can, helps to stifle or dismiss or discourage such things? Okay. So does that mean that the entirety of your audience is completely unaware of this and you are somehow the singular enlightened person in Montana? But everybody else is ignorant because they're not white like you? Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. We are not considered Pacific Northwest. We are considered Midwest, I think. Yeah, I mean, Pacific Northwest is those that are like on the Pacific. So like California, Oregon, Washington. And I think they throw Idaho in there, but I don't know about Montana. Maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know what, I don't know where the Pacific umbrella stops for making something the Pacific Northwest.
And it turns out that living in very diverse urban spaces like New York City doesn't automatically solve bigotry.
You're right. She is absolutely right. Living in diverse spaces does not solve bigotry. You are correct, Becky.
Jennifer Harvey in Raising White Kids reminds us that kids in fancy international schools still hold bigoted ideas.
Raising White Kids? I assume she's talking about a book. Raising White Kids. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm curious to know what specifically needs to be done in order to raise white kids versus kids.
That hate crimes still happen in diverse urban spaces.
You don't say. People still hate each other, even in places where there's all types of different people? Wow. It's almost like human beings are inherently flawed or something, regardless of their race.
That the South is home to many Black folks, and yet the Klan reigned there for decades, and their impact is still felt today.
Yeah, what kind of power does the Klan have now in the South, might I ask? What kind of legislative control do they have in the South now, might I ask? What kind of lobby does the KKK hold in the South now, might I ask? How popular is the Klan in the South, or in America, or in the world right now, might I ask? Or am I just too ignorant as a white person to understand the facts of the matter?
Research indicates that in the West, white folks who live in border towns on or near reservations hold some of the most racist ideas about indigenous people.
I'll totally believe you. And only white people have racist opinions about other kinds of people, on the border or otherwise. I'm sure that's true too. Because, bad thoughts are skin specific.
But Harvey points out that when we talk about our differences, when we talk about discrimination and how it works, we actually stop it.
Oh, okay.
Awareness and talking really matter.
Oh.
Maybe even more than basic exposure.
Oh.
So when we talk about race and differences and discrimination,
yeah,
it actually has a humanizing effect that is a sort of self-interest motivation for fighting white nationalism.
Oh, okay. Okay. So talking about difference humanizes other people, even though white people dehumanize the other because they're white. So, okay.
And another kind of self-interest motivation is the bottom line.
Oh, we're going to talk about greed now. So if the natural sense of the golden rule wasn't enough for you, if just being, good to another person because they're good to you, or not assessing someone simply on their skin color wasn't enough, let's talk about the profit motive. Okay, well, I'm all ears. Tell me about the profit motive of fighting white nationalism, because I'm still waiting to hear how you make a living fighting white nationalism.
Research indicates that inclusive democracy is the effect of a rising tide when it comes to educational well-being, mental health, and flourishing culture.
Really? Really? So we don't have an inclusive democracy? I mean, I can only assume the reason you'd bring up that particular point is because we don't exist in an inclusive democracy. Why would you need to pitch that to us unless it wasn't the case? So if it's not the case, then what are we living in exactly? And I know we're representative republic, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
And racial discrimination still exists.
Really? Coming from the person who's telling me that specific races and or religions or ethnicities are inherently marginalized and need people like you to stand up for them and support their voices because they don't have voices themselves. Are you telling me the discrimination still exists? Becky?
In terms of our access to quality education, quality food, to housing. And while these have an undeniably negative impact on those who are unfairly subject to that discrimination,
who are obviously not white, who are obviously impaired because of what they are, right, Becky? But we don't want to promote discrimination now, do we, Becky? Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. I was raised on a reservation. I was hated by some white and native kids for being mixed race. That sucks, Johnny. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not going to deny that hatred exists, that discrimination exists, that deprecation exists, condescension exists, because I can just listen to our speaker. It's okay.
They are also public health and economic problems. When we address these issues,
yes,
we have sort of a self-interest motivation for white people in thinking about it in this way.
Okay. Tell me how white people think about this subject, because I'm dying to know how skin color defines ways of thinking. Do tell.
For fighting racism.
Yeah.
So 2 Canadian researchers talk about this self-interest motivation of white people to fighting racism because it benefits them as a boomerang effect.
Ooh, a boomerang effect. So like Eddie Murphy shows up and is a player? That was a joke for you 90s kids out there.
They talk about the economic benefits to white folks to
I'm still waiting for the profit motive here. You're talking about the bottom line. What is the profit motive that only white people can really latch onto? Because as you know, white people are only concerned with the bottom line. They're only concerned with the profit motive because, they're white. They don't have any kind of humanity or empathy or compassion or sense of kinship with anyone. No. It's all about can you convince them that there's a profit to be had in it because they're white. Okay, well, I'm waiting for this grand argument of monetization.
ending bigotry. And
yeah.
while this is
Bigotry.
interesting and important, it doesn't center those people who are most directly impacted.
Oh, okay.
So we move to another form of entry into these movements to fight bigotry and racism.
Okay, well, I'm glad you at least stated them as two separate concepts. I don't understand why you keep conjoining one with the other. Thank you again, Jaeger Pony. I hate Chris Angel. Does that make me bigoted against terrible magicians? Well, magicians are a marginalized demographic. Most people think they're faking everything they're doing and that they are professional liars. So, yes. And thank you, Non-Vitae Rex. I thought emphasizing what people have in common was how you bring them together. No. Rex, come on. We have to focus on our differences. We have to point out how we're all different from one another. We can't focus on things like common humanity or common motivation or common like concerns in the world. No. We have to like very, very explicitly and specifically focus on those things that divide us. That will bring us together, especially those, completely non-determinative factors like skin color and gender and orientation and ethnicity. Those things that really define what you are and not who you are. That's what we have to focus on. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. Hell, even natives hate natives for leaving the res. Everybody can find a reason to hate everybody else within their own demographic or outside others. It's a pastime that some people indulge in because they got nothing else to do with their time, or they're insecure, or they're just looking to feel a part of something. That's one of the other things. It's like, the motivation to not feel alone can sometimes lead you to hate others as a hobby that you share with someone else. It's as simple as that. Some people like cosplay, and that brings them together. Some people can only find their togetherness by hating other people. One is particularly benign as a hobby. The other one is particularly destructive as a hobby. Human condition.
And that's white saviorism.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about white saviorism. She who sees certain demographics as inherently disadvantaged that need her help. Thank you, John Miller. If you replace white for black or insert minority in this talk, how racist would you think this would sound? I always wonder if most of the people that do this kind of thing ever think about that themselves for a moment. Oftentimes, I don't think they do. It doesn't occur to them because their version of reality is what they say it is. And no possible reinterpretation or echoing back effect of what they're saying could possibly mean that they're promoting something that's inherently flawed or destructive or condescending or detrimental or discriminatory. Thank you, Purple Pill Perspective. Isn't being against bigotry inherently oxymoronic? Okay, I'll address that quickly. Everybody is a bigot. Okay, I'll just say that right now. Everyone is a bigot. I'm a bigot. You know why I'm a bigot? Because if somebody comes out on a stage and says, I think all insert demographic here should be put in jail simply because they are demographic. Okay, I am not particularly fond of that person for promoting that idea. Therefore, I am a bigot. Right? If somebody comes out and says, the world is flat, it is not round, and I even for a moment consider that person to be somewhat unintelligent or ignorant, I'm a bigot. Everyone is a bigot about something, but not everyone is a racist.
What do I mean by white saviorism?
I'm dying to know.
Let me tell you a story that I think about a lot every year in the fall. As a child and preteen, my family would head to the Cascade County Fairgrounds, and we would load up boxes full of jellied cranberries and salty stuffing. And we get a list of children's genders and ages, and we get gifts to go along with the turkeys and the jugs of milk.
List of children's genders? I mean, okay, this is a boy, this is a girl, I guess.
We didn't necessarily have a lot of extra money to give, but we did have our time.
Uh-huh.
And we load up the boxes and the list with addresses into some version of our conversion van or our station wagon. On this one particularly memorable delivery, I remember my mother and I unloading the box from the car.
Right.
We headed up the stairwell of an old school that had been turned into public housing.
Okay.
It's not lost on me today that school was segregated up until the 1970s.
You don't say. Wow. Okay.
Forcing Indigenous students into the basement classrooms.
That is honestly terrible.
So my mom and I reached the top of the stairs out of breath.
Yeah.
And we knocked on the door to the apartment. When the door opened, there on the other side stood my classmate. She was one of the only Black students in my school.
Okay.
Until that moment, I thought that she walked on water.
Why? And upon seeing her, your opinion of her changed? I don't know if this is about to be fascinating or just exceedingly depressing, or perhaps both.
She was one of the cool kids.
And now she wasn't?
My preteen self had desperately wanted to be invited to her birthday party.
And then you didn't?
Something I then realized that she probably didn't even have.
Because she was Black and in affordable housing? She didn't have a birthday party because she was Black and living in affordable housing? Really? Guys, did you know Black people in affordable housing don't have birthday parties? Okay. Yeah, people without money, A, they can't be cool. B, they don't have birthday parties. Well, that explains why I was never cool.
I watched the pride and the power drain out of her standing in that doorway.
Really? Really? Did you? Did she say that simply you coming to her door drained her of her pride and power? Or is that something that you projected onto her, taking pity on the poor Black student?
It seeped across the threshold.
Oh, God.
And it covered me in whiteness.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, no. What did I say earlier about bukkake? Oh. Okay. You are now covered in whiteness. Jesus Christ. I need a drink.
We handed over the box of food.
Uh-huh.
But it was no fair trade for the shift in power that happened between two children.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, John Miller. Well, there's a porn shot statement, I tell you what. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow. Now, again, taking her at her word that this is her own story, no words have been exchanged between her and her classmate. All of this is going on inside of her, I'm sure, reflected upon in her adult years self as she was putting that onto her classmate. Suddenly, this classmate wasn't cool. Suddenly, this classmate didn't have birthdays. Suddenly, this classmate lost all pride and power. And she took pity on this classmate because of her skin color and her classmate's skin color, which are obvious derivations of one another in quality of life inherently. Just so I'm clear on what I'm supposed to be taking from this anecdote. Becky.
My mother and I left not feeling like do-gooders. I remember she apologized to me in the stairwell.
For what? I mean, okay. I know I'm going to overanalyze this. Were you both, your mother and you, unaware of where you were going? What part of town you were going to? The significance of the building in which you arrived at? You had done this as a family for years, and all of a sudden, you had no idea where you were going. You didn't know who you were delivering the box to when you knocked on the door? And it was a surprise to you that it was your classmate, just some random person. Even though you had a list of names and their genders, you didn't know who this person was until they answered the door? And it was some kind of shock, some kind of like cold bucket of water on you? I must have misunderstood something from the story. Jaeger Pony, thank you so much. Just take it. I can't handle it. More of my wine is ending up on my screen than in my belly. That is unhealthy for your screen, but okay, Pony. I know this sounds, self-detrimental, but you need to stop. Okay? It's okay. You need to stop. I'm going to find somewhere to donate your money elsewhere. Your generosity is too much. It really is. That is enough. Drink your wine, enjoy the time, but that's enough. Thank you so much. I'm not meaning to be dismissive of your generosity, but really, that is too much. Thank you so much. I'm going to pay it forward. I swear. That's beyond and beyond. Okay, not to dwell. I only got 5 minutes left, guys.
We never delivered boxes again.
Well, so you see your classmate. You project onto this classmate some kind of inherent detriment simply on the basis of her current situation and her skin color. And so then everyone that could have benefited from your generosity, oh, hell with it. We don't want to feel guilty anymore. So we're just going to cut off our generosity. Please tell me that is an act and a decision that you now regret, because that sounds like the dumbest thing I could possibly imagine, even from you.
Things didn't go so well for my classmate through most of our school years.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that we both lost out in that moment.
Somehow I think that she lost out more than you did, if I'm understanding you.
Not because she didn't need the food, but because of the shift that occurred, because of the unfairness of the situation, and because of the unsaid racism that existed.
Oh, I'll agree. There was some unsaid racism going on there. Oh, I definitely agree with that. So you are going to deprive people, not just your classmate, but anybody else who might have benefited from your generosity, which, I'll credit where credit is due. As I've learned on this stream alone, generosity, especially from someone who doesn't necessarily have a whole lot to give in the first place, but giving it unto those that are disadvantaged or in a bad situation, never an unwelcome thing. But because you felt uncomfortable confronting a classmate, you're going to cut off your generosity from people who could have used it. Obviously, we're thankful to have it. And tell me again about the unspoken racism.
I knew that I didn't want to just deliver boxes of white supremacy. I wanted...
What? Boxes of white supremacy. You're bringing food and things to needy people, and that's boxes of white supremacy? I mean, what, were you delivering Klan outfits or something? What the? Oh my God. I'm going to back up a couple seconds because I cut her off right in the middle of, I'm sure, another brilliant statement.
I knew that I didn't want to just deliver boxes of white supremacy. I wanted to change everything that made that situation a reality.
Like your inherent condescension towards your classmate because of her circumstance and her skin color. Maybe that's what you should have changed a little bit. Well, but here's the adult you doing the exact same thing, aren't you?
I had a hard entry into justice work through service.
Justice, service. I can't even imagine how those words are defined in your world.
And I think it can be an entry for other people as well. Listen, guilt and duty are highly motivating.
Hey, yeah, that almost sounds like a confession on your part. Tell me about your guilt and your duty.
But service is not enough. It meets an immediate need, but it doesn't change the whole structures that exist that create the circumstances.
I hate to tell you this. It doesn't matter what skin color you are. There will always be poverty. There will always be difference between the haves and the have-nots. Every time that there has been an attempt to try to even that playing field, governmentally, legally, etc., just if you want a brief little example of what that looks like to its extreme, look up the story titled Harrison Bergeron. That's the name of the story. It's the name of the character, Harrison Bergeron. Look up that story, read that story. It is a satire after a fashion. It's science fiction after a fashion. But it really does spell out the futility, the injustice of trying to create a situation where everything is equal. By mandate, by law, by requirement. There will always be disparity in the world of one form or another. It's inevitable. It's unavoidable. Doesn't have to be for everybody. And we as a society can do those things necessary to give people as many equal opportunities as possible. But equal outcomes, there be dragons, as they say. Thank you, Tweak256. Toys for Tots is now a white supremacist organization. Apparently so. Boxes of white supremacy. Meals on Wheels, guys. Did you know that's really just white supremacy with tires? I guess. Thank you, Tall Person. Hoy, y'all. Just got home from work and we'll watch in full later. Happy I Love Reese's Day, everybody. We're talking about Reese's Pieces? I haven't had Reese's Pieces in a long time. If that's what you mean. I don't know if that's what you mean, but that's where my mind went.
So what are we left with?
You on a stage trying to moralize to the rest of us that we're imperfect and you're somehow enlightened.
Solidarity. Solidarity is an invitation for action. It's a chance for authentic relationships.
Yeah, and you seem so authentic when you say that.
It shifts the power not just from one person to the other, but to the space in between, creating a link that cannot be broken when we stand side by side. Solidarity is not just addressing our personal bias, but changing the whole structure.
Was it solidarity when you and your mother decided to stop giving to people who needed help? Because you felt uncomfortable seeing your classmate? Was that solidarity? Where your sense of discomfort and guilt cut off your generosity? Because, if that was all it took for you to stop being generous, I really have to wonder at the motivations of your generosity in the first place. Oh, but don't mind me just taking your own story and thinking about it for a second.
Solidarity for white folks means using your white privilege and your power to change the circumstances.
Oh, my white privilege and my power. Well, what is my privilege? What is my power? What is that power that is inherent to my skin color? Please, Karen, Becky, tell me all about the white power that you believe in.
What do I mean by that?
I'm dying to know.
Let me give you an example of that.
Okay.
Just like as a child walking around with that box of food, I walk around each day with a box of white privilege.
Would you also maybe call that an invisible knapsack of privilege?
It's my job to use that to fight white nationalism.
Oh, okay. So you've got white privilege to fight white nationalism. Okay. All right. Well, I'm still waiting to hear how you fight white nationalism and also how that is your job. Unless you mean that in some sort of abstract sense, like some kind of crusade and not necessarily an employment.
So about a decade ago, a small group of white nationalists were organizing Holocaust denial films in a library in Montana.
A small group of white nationalists? Well, why wasn't it a large group? I mean, why wasn't it half the state? Why wasn't it thousands of people? What do you mean small group? I mean, white nationalism, white supremacy is what props up the entire systems and structure of this country. Why was it only a small group? It seems kind of odd. Thank you, Drew W. This is why they want government to redistribute wealth so they don't have to face inequality in person. Ooh. Good point, Drew. That's an interesting good one. No, seriously, that is an interesting interpretation. Why doesn't the state do this so I don't have to, or I don't have to look at it? Not bad. All right, but anyway, a small group of white nationalists were promoting Holocaust denial. Amazing. I'm sure that's never happened before here or anywhere else in the world.
Films that deny the Holocaust ever even happened, deny the genocide and murder of millions of Jews and others.
That's been going on since World War II. And it is the minority outlook on history. You just said it yourself, a small group of white nationalists. If you want to whittle down the percentage of people in the world that actually believe and promote that stuff, you can't do much better than a small group of white nationalists. I mean, can you get more dividing percentiles than that? Thank you, Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov. Did someone say crusade? Deus Volt, Deus Volt, Deus Volt. Yes, well, There's the historical reference to crusade, and then there's just sort of the dictionary definition thereof. But thank you, Havoc.
So the Montana Human Rights Network joined with local activists to fill every seat in that space.
Oh.
So that those who might be susceptible to those bigoted ideas did not have a chance to listen.
Bigoted ideas. Now, that was the appropriate use of the word bigotry, an intolerance for others who have ideas you disagree with, which meant that all of you, and rightfully so, this is the thing, bigotry is a neutral concept, depending on the circumstances you're talking about. Holocaust denial is provably false and wrong. So being bigoted against Holocaust deniers is, at least on a moral, objective level, a correct position to have. So you can be a bigot and be a good person. You see how that works? It's amazing, isn't it?
This was not a safe space for people of color and Jewish people.
Why? It was a public library. Did I miss that part, that it was at a public library or something? What was going to happen? Was the small group of white nationalists who believe in Holocaust denial going to, physically attack anyone in the audience who didn't happen to be white?
So it was incredibly important that white teens and adults use their privilege in this action.
Because non-white teens and non-white adults couldn't attend? I mean, I suppose maybe they were disallowed to attend. Maybe I missed the part where it's like a private hearing or something. Okay.
I went too.
Oh, really?
About 15 minutes into the film, everyone rose in unison silently and left.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It was incredibly powerful.
I
stayed. I stayed because I could and others couldn't.
You stayed because you could and others couldn't. Why could you stay? Could you tolerate Holocaust denial more so than others? Why could you tolerate that? I don't understand.
I stayed so that I could gain knowledge and take pictures to counter the white nationalist organizing that was happening in that community.
So you stayed as an expression of not deplatforming bad ideas, and instead listening to bad ideas without necessarily accepting those bad ideas in order to counter those bad ideas, being informed about those bad ideas and where the weaknesses in their arguments lay. Golly, it almost sounds like what I do with all these TEDx's and everything else. It's almost like simply believing that you're right without actually exposing yourself to another opinion. It's not necessarily the smartest way to go about operating in the world or something. Okay, well, I'll give you credit on that one.
This is how you use your white privilege to change the structure. This is how you use it to change everything that makes it a reality.
So therefore, all of those guys who made that film or were promoting that film no longer believe in Holocaust denial? I mean, undercutting their sense of, I don't know, pride or sense of rightness by that demonstration? Okay, sure. But people still believe the Holocaust didn't happen. You know, so, hey, your demonstration was fine. Peaceful demonstration. You attended this thing, you walked out, or you took notes, whichever. And everybody who believes in Holocaust denial probably still believes in it. And the vast majority of the rest of the planet's population that do not believe in Holocaust denial are exactly where they were too. Okay.
I see an opportunity for entry into movement, into a change in thinking in the rural West.
I wonder if I honestly wonder this. Does our speaker honestly believe that there is a majority of people in her audience, a majority of Montanians, who believe in Holocaust deniability or believe inherently in racism or discrimination, etc., etc., just on the basis that they are also white like her? I honestly wonder if that is the perspective she has about people who look like she does.
Wendell Berry, a rural writer who's not necessarily known as an anti-racist activist.
So he's a racist?
Says that community is the mental and spiritual condition of knowing that a space is shared.
Really? Well, then why did you stop giving out food to people because your classmate was black and poor? I don't know why I keep coming back to that example, the one that she gave. But thank you, Drew W. again. Don't brown Muslims are also deniers too? Now, Drew, you don't mean to tell me that bad ideas can cross between races and ethnicities? No. It's entirely a white thing. All bad thoughts, all racist or dismissive or genocidal denying thoughts are based on skin color. One particular skin color. One particular credo. One particular ideology. That's it. But nothing else. It can't. These things, human beings don't have bad thoughts. White people have bad thoughts.
And that those people we share this place with define and limit the possibility of each other's lives.
Yeah, like stopping giving food to people because you saw a black poor classmate.
It is the knowledge of each other, our trust in each other, our concern for each other.
Yeah, you know, those poor black kids that don't have birthday parties and aren't cool.
And the freedom in which we come and go amongst ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So with that definition in mind, solidarity is acting in that shared space.
Really?
Knowing that each move we make has the ability to expand the freedom of those we share it with.
Oh my God.
My whiteness only exists because of the power it offers me and other white people.
Oh.
Race only exists to uphold racism.
Oh.
So casting aside the saviorism or the self-interest,
yeah,
we are left with solidarity.
Yeah.
And the knowledge that our shared concern for each other is what true, inclusive democracy can look like.
Oh my God. Wow. I don't know what to tell you. That was quite the closer. That was quite the closer. Hey, everybody. Let's dispense with assessing people on the basis of their skin color and just understand that all white people have power and all black students don't have birthday parties. Wow, that was quite a ride. I hadn't expected that. Honestly, I don't know what to expect when going into any of these things. I've had a couple now that ended up being relatively benign, truth be told. And yet the majority, even just based on the simple premise of, hey, did you know that white supremacy or white nationalism is bad? I mean, I could have come into this and she would have said, here's a list of white nationalist groups currently active in the United States. Here are the number of crimes and or assaults and or murders that are attributed to members of white nationalist organizations. She could have given like a chapter and verse on the actual statistics of what white nationalist organizations and ideology actually does to the country. And you know what? I would have been totally interested in that. I mean, I'm a true crime buff. after a fashion. So that kind of stuff would be interesting. Instead, what do we get? All you uninformed white people who are just sort of passively discriminatory and sort of passively self-superior because of your skin color, you need to get on the same page with me, the enlightened white person covered in whiteness who stopped giving out food as charity to poor people because I got embarrassed to see a classmate who I thought was cool and I thought had birthday parties, but then I saw that she lived in affordable housing and was also black, by the way. Yeah. Yay, Montana. I guess. Anyway, I have obviously had more than my say, so I'm going to turn to you guys for a few minutes here. If you have thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, observations of your own, put them in the chat. I'll scroll up a little bit for anything that might have been said in the last couple minutes. Humble Clay says, there is a big opportunity to change racism and bigotry in the Middle East and Africa. Why don't you go there? Well, I mean, there's so much in Montana that she needs to fix, obviously. Straight Sith Male says, wow, when she hit the wall, it fell on her. I don't even know where we were in those last couple of minutes. I don't know where we were supposed to be heading. I don't know what direction we were heading in. Let's see. Subpar Genitalia, hello. Why do people have to limit each other instead of making it possible for them to achieve more than before? Well, you'd have to ask our speaker, who obviously is able magically to assess the quality of someone and their life on the basis of what they look like and what their presumed class is. You can tell whether or not anybody has birthdays. Dark Alile, so if race only exists to support racism, why are we not allowed to ignore race? That's a very good question. Why are we not allowed to not assess someone on the basis of race? Why are we not allowed? Why is it a sin to practice the principle of colorblindness and assess people on who they are and not what they are? I can't count how many videos or how many speeches I've seen where they say something to the effect of, if you don't see color, then you don't see me. You're ignoring my reality. You're ignoring my existence if you don't see color. I like I say, I can't count how many times I've had that statement, that declaration made in my general direction, either from videos or speeches that I've attended at times. Let's see. Some Ambulation says, tell me you'll never feature this woman again, Scribelight. I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. It is such a small world sometimes. I don't go out seeking specific individuals that often. I can probably count on maybe 3 fingers how many times I've actually looked for a specific individual. The 2 that come to mind are Dr. Chris Hoff, the radical therapist. But just because I look at his channel, and it's his channel, so you can't really avoid that. And then I've looked up Michael Benitez and John Eckloff a couple of times, just because they were 2 of the original sort of down the rabbit hole figures in the whole boom experience thing. If you guys don't know about the boom experience, there's a playlist on my channel. And this is the thing. You go to playlists, but then you have to click on the thing that says created playlists, because YouTube won't show you all of the playlists on a channel. I don't know why that is, but it just is. So playlists tab, then click on created playlists. And there's a playlist called Down the Rabbit Hole. And it was the first, and I think some of the most significant YouTubing I ever did. And it was very early on in my channel, where, I can't say for certain that anything I did or said or whatever had an effect on the real world, but you'll have to see. It's a relatively short series of videos compared to what I do now. But so aside from those 3 guys, I never look anybody up specifically, either from time to time or otherwise. And yet, if you'll notice across the swath of my portfolio of videos, you will see the same person come up from time to time. And that's just out of dumb luck. There's this one lady, her name's Lovey Ajayi, if I'm saying that correctly. And I came across a video with her in it way back early on in my channel. Is actually the video that sort of brought Ranting Monkey and I together, because he did a video on it shortly after I did, and he didn't know I did a video on it, and he apologized because he'd done a video on the same video I did, and I was like, how could you possibly know? And that's kind of how we became friends, or at least started talking to each other. And then, a year, 2 years later or something, there was a TEDx talk I came across, and I was like, wait, I know that person. She looks familiar. And it was that same lady, Lovey Ajayi. So, from time to time, I just happen to come across the small world of people who traffic in this kind of speaking tour or material. And just, sometimes it's just accident. But anyway, long story. Let's move on. Chicago Mike, hate to tell her this. She's the racist, assuming that all blacks need help. I mean, she was the one telling us that who are the marginalized demographics just by nature of what they are, and how by nature of what she is or what other white people are, that they inherently have this, or those people inherently don't have that, or I don't know. She was the one divvying everybody up by race. Get Free Mazes says, hello, late to the show. Hello, Get Free. Humble Clay, it's almost like she fabricates racism just so she can have something to validate herself as a good person when she talks about it. Now, Humble Clay, making up a problem that you then say you're solving, that's, people don't do that. And also people don't embellish reality to try to alleviate their own sense of inherent subconscious guilt over their own racism or something. No, they don't do that. The phrase, me thinks thou doth protest too much, does not come up at all in any of these things. Drew W. says she is a white savior through and through. Yeah, I kind of noticed that. She's railing against the whole idea of white saviors, and yet somehow she needs to use her white privilege to help those who are obviously inherently disadvantaged because of what they are. John Miller, with her attitude, why even bother? She is white and will never be able to remove her whiteness. How else would she get someone's attention? Well, that's the thing. How do you tell a good white person from a bad white person just by looking at them? I mean, don't you have to default to the assumption that because they're white, they're inherently contributing to white supremacy, they're inherently possessive of white privilege, inherently looking down on everybody else? And obviously, our speaker has divested anyone of that notion by her speech today. Some emulation. Why do some people think we are obligated to recognize their reality? I don't know. And how can I recognize someone's reality? How am I supposed to discern an individual's reality simply by looking at them, unless I am somehow practicing some form of inherent discrimination, some inherent form of belief in stereotype? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. This is Kyle Scribe. This is making me contemplate bashing my head into a wall. I hold you responsible. Okay. I hold myself harmless from any liability for any injury that may be incurred after watching one of these with me. I just do. I just do that blanket. I hold myself harmless. If you decide to do something terrible to yourself physically after watching one of these things, that's on you, not on me. Not my responsibility. Okay? Just saying. Just saying. And lastly, because time to wrap this up. Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov. I am both saddened and glad that the crowds for these talks aren't able to ask questions. Saddened because I'm not able to ask any directly to them, and glad because I can never be thrown out because. It has been a dream of mine to either be the one or to witness someone pose a question similar to this to someone who stands on a stage and either claims to have white privilege or deprecates themselves because of their white privilege. Because I've always wanted to ask someone who truly believes that that's how the world works. Ask them, if you have white privilege, if you have lived your life with all of your hardships not really being hardships, and especially all of your accomplishments not really being accomplishments, how can you stand on a stage and claim to speak with any authority over anything? How can I look upon any of your credentials or any of your complaints with a serious eye? Anything you have achieved is a false achievement. Anything you have suffered is an insulated burden. If you truly believe the world works as you say it does, you should be the last person promoting yourself as an authority on anything. Shouldn't you? Because a question like that, or similar to, it really puts them on the spot. Because if they truly believe in white privilege and that they possess it, then they also have to believe that they're fake. Everything about them is fake in some way, shape, or form. Unearned accomplishment, right? Unharmful difficulty. So either they don't believe what they are saying, or they do believe what they are saying, but they're just a hypocrite. There's really no way out for someone who says that they possess white power. And with that, guys, I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for your attendance, for your participation. That was the pepper jack making my words stumble. And most especially, thank you for your generosity. And I have to highlight Jaeger Pony in this too. Thank you so much. I don't have words more to say than I will be paying this forward. You may not see it. I don't promote what I do when it comes to that kind of stuff, but it will be done because that is exceedingly generous, and I have no other remedy for that but to share the wealth, as it were. So thank you so much for your time and your patience today, and for your tolerance of this crazy talk. So look for me, if you are looking for me, tonight on Satsu 2 Senses channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for Lords of the Night. And then tomorrow, same time, but on this channel, I'll be hosting Lords of the Night. And I'm hoping, not necessarily guaranteed, but hopefully fingers crossed, sometime later this week, I'll be doing another TEDXcellence in tandem with Blind Press over another TEDx speaker who, as far as I can tell, wishes to tell us the realities of being disabled, which should be interesting if you watch the last one with Blind Press and I. So anyway, guys, again, thank you so much for coming out and joining me for this. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed it as I grit my teeth. Have a good rest of your Monday. Please all be safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.